his Irish ass in here.
Oh, look at that. He's wearing a mask. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another art stream. And today I promised that it would be something special because we have a guest. Yay. Um, Today we have MK Gibson, who is the author of the Technomancer series, of which I am illustrating the very first book. But before I'm going to dive into another of his illustrations, um, Gib, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your work? Basically, who are you, and what the fuck are you doing in my stream?
I'm very glitchy. There is a hell of a delay. I don't get. Can you hear me in real time at least?
I can, yeah, I can hear you in real time, yes.
All right, because I'm watching myself watch you because I can see the chat channel and
It's
like
weird,
that, and
huh?
it is weird.
Yeah, this is what you get for
Let me see
being
a
on the
little
other
bit.
side of the world.
It's only like 6,000 miles away or so.
Oh, easy swim.
Hey, I'm not Galadriel here. I can't swim that far.
Oh, true.
Okay. What's your original question? Who
Oh
am
yeah,
I?
who are you and what the fuck are you doing
I'm
in my stream?
nobody. All right. So I am. I don't know how much you've gone over with your audience for the past, but okay. So, hey, people left. Get back in here, you assholes. All right. I'm a nobody. Well, I'm a writer. I wrote back in a majillion years ago. A friend of mine dared me to write a book that had urban fantasy, heaven and hell, and Cthulhu type elements into it. And I said, I'll take that bet. And so I started writing the book that would eventually become To Beat the Devil, the first Technomancer novel. And my first draft sucked. My second draft sucked. My third draft sucked. But I eventually found a happy place with it. And then I eventually went through trying to get published and went in and out of I got picked up, let go, picked up, let go. And then eventually I found a home and got the book out there. And it's one of those things that it slowly started growing over time. And one thing I always wanted to do with the book was to do some kind of illustration thing that accompanied it. But artists are a persnickety bunch, and not a lot of artists want to work on someone else's work. They want to work on their own work, and I understand that. I don't want to write someone else's stuff. I want to write my own stuff. But when I met Sandy through a Facebook group for authors, and we found out we also like the same video game, we're both Destiny fanatics. She invited me to join that group, her clan online. Played a bunch of games together, hung out online a few times together more, and then she started reading it and she liked the project because I had read some of her Singularia, and then she started reading my Technomancer and she started giving my first fan art, and then I think you got a little bit of the bug of the world and wanted to draw more. And I said, well, something I've always wanted to do was the illustrated version, but since Amazon was offering hardback copies, what if we set this apart? What if we try to make a new project, you and I, that we split my work, your art, and let's see what we can do with it. And that's the reason I'm in your stream, because we've been working pretty diligently for the last couple of months
Oh yeah.
trying to make a cool product together.
I'm trying. We're trying really hard. Yeah, no, it's funny how this is like just one of those random encounters where you find a fellow author in a Facebook group where everybody's basically screaming, "Buy my book, buy my shit, here it is, please do it." And then you end
Oh
up having
God,
a
yes.
really valuable friendship, taking away from that. And then a couple of months later, you're working together on a book. I still think this is one of the great stories to tell over birthday parties. So yeah, thanks so much for joining me on this one and for being a guest here in the stream today.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always, always. Oh, you're actually apologizing for the audio delay. I see
Yeah, well,
there
because
are.
if anyone's in the chat, because I don't know what they're seeing. I don't know what they're hearing me, if they're seeing me like 3 seconds later or not.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Maybe I should give you like a little bit of room after you're done speaking, just to see. Make sure
bah.
yeah, no. Silences are overrated, I guess. So let's just fill up the whole. All right, 3 seconds delay. There we go. Thanks for checking that
I
out.
think they're laughing that it's only 3 seconds. I think it's more like it's like 7. Hey, if any OBS savvy people out there can make a quick fix,
Please do.
we're
Please come
listening.
over to Dutchland and fix my OBS. All right. Okay. So yeah. Long story short, Gib is awesome. He writes awesome books. and we tried to combine that with some of my artwork.
All right,
And
good stream. We had it done.
right, yeah. I set up a drawing for today, but before I'm gonna jump in and show you my actual illustration, let's swap to a different camera view. There we go. Because I got the first question right here for you, and I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "What would you rather fight? 100 duck-sized horses," and I do have to be careful to not really mispronunciate that, or one horse-sized duck.
Is this a family friendly stream? I gotta watch my language.
It got very awkward very quickly. Yes.
All right, I don't really want to fight an animal for the sake of the PETA people. That being said, I'm gonna ducks are nasty, but I think I could take a bunch of tiny horses. One quick snap of them legs and they ain't getting up. So they got brittle legs. So I'm gonna run the gauntlet and try to fight 100 duck-sized horses. I don't want to fight I don't want to fight Mega Duck.
You know, I would actually wonder if does one horse-sized duck? I'm struggling to pronounce this. One horse-sized duck or a duck-sized does the horsepower stay the same? Because that would be pretty important.
Well,
if
a duck was
tiny horse, but if it's still super powerful, then
I think the power grows and shrinks with the thing. So it's a giant duck. I don't know. That's kind of it's mostly fluff, and it's not gonna be as heavy as you think it is, but still, they can bite and be nasty when they're just duck size. You get one that's the size of a horse, and it can gnaw on your neck. So
wasn't there
shrink that horse down to where he's.
Wasn't there a meme at some point where there was this huge rubber ducky floating on a river somewhere in the US, and just the caption was "Quack, motherfucker," and I could just hear the giant duck go quack. I don't know. This is just something that pops in my head now. All right, let's go. Let's dive into it. This is the illustration for today, and I'm just waiting for the delay to sort of stop. I think we can all see it by now. What are we looking at? You know who this is and what is happening here. Can you talk us through?
Oh, sure, of course. So last week you pitched me, hey, when we do this stream, I need something to draw. And I didn't know exactly what. I didn't know what you had planned for certain parts of the book or not. But I said, I love that scene in the one chapter of Salem after his fight. For fans who've read the book, they'll know it. After his fight with Vidar in Midheim, he's having some drinks after the fact. He's in a back room with the two gods, and he's like, "Hey, I just got to ask, is that the hammer of Thor?" So it's Salem staring at Thor's hammer, which is sitting on a coffee table because it's got nowhere else to go. It's almost like a tchotchke sitting there, and he's kind of baffled by it. And Sandy says, "Oh, I could do that." And in 45 minutes later, she comes back with the outline already done. I'm like, I hate you. I hate you because I love to draw, but man, not like that. And she knocks it out of the park every time. So it makes me so happy when she does. So obviously, once I saw your Singularian work and we got to talking and you gave me that first couple pieces of fan art, I was like, I think I found the artist I want to work with, and hopefully she wants to work with me. So
that is always a sort of weird, very anguish moment of anguish, isn't it? When you're asking someone to do something for you, do you want to work together with me? And you're like, I don't know, you feel like you're in one of these teenager angst periods again, where you're like, oh, is she gonna reject me? Is she gonna what's gonna happen? I don't know.
do I do you like me? Check yes or no on a little note you pass, kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. I can imagine that's what it felt like. But I really love these books. I was about halfway book 3 when we actually started talking about the illustrations for book 1.
Oh yeah. Have you gotten any further since then?
If I start stammering a bit or I struggle to find my words, that's because I'm also drawing at the same time, so my brain capacity is a bit overloaded right now. So bear with me.
I will have to carry the conversation then. That's not a problem.
You the boss. Now go be boss.
All right.
Also, by the way,
So
for the people in chat, that is maybe something useful to sort of tell them is that if you have questions, you want to join in the conversation, you want to say things, you want to ask us specific things, do drop your message in the chat because we are here
yes,
for you
please.
as much as we are here to work. So yeah, do join in. And then there's this really nice cricket sounds. I should have
I
actually
know.
a sound
So my
file of
question is,
crickets.
why? Well, let me ask you,
Yeah.
why draw this stuff? I mean, you've got your own stuff to work on. Why work on this?
Why work on this? You know, my own stuff is actually almost finished, so I had nothing
All
to
right, so
do.
you ran out of things to do. That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah,
Perfect,
no,
perfect answer. I ran out of things to do.
yeah, and you know, and it, in a way, it's also like you said, a lot of artists want to work on their own stuff, and I've done that for the last 2 years. The Singularian was 100% my own stuff, and it was a great project. I'm wrapping it up like almost as we speak. The final chapter is basically being written, and the final
Right.
illustrations are being published, and then it's done. And then I've worked 100% of my time, my creative time, on a project that is my own. And at some point, you actually want to, at least I do, want to crawl out of my comfort zone and do something completely differently because that is also how I sort of deal with my ADHD that wants to focus on something, and I want to go outside of that focus for a bit. So, you asking me to illustrate your book, that was like the right place and the exact right time.
So dumb luck and boredom and ran out of things to do. I'll take
Oh,
it.
and a
You know
very
what? I'll
cool
take
book.
it. Okay, well, there, a little gill in the lily. Could we
Because
ever get a
really
Shadow
honestly,
Master versus Salem book?
This is the I guess it's a sort of luxury thing going on here because I can choose my projects. I can choose whether I want to take on a project or not. So if your book sucked, I would have not taken it on.
Well, I think when she sent the first fan art, I was like, I think she gets it. Kind of like when I was reading the Singularity, and I'm like, this is like an art project come to life, and I'm really digging this style, And it's I think we just kind of get each other creatively. We have our differences, but we have enough similarities and loves
Mhm.
that like there's a Venn diagram where it overlaps. All right, real fast. Angelo asked, or if I can use your real name, apologize, sir. Can we ever get a Shadow Master versus Salem book? I don't know if that's ever going to happen, and here's why. Some authors I know love to have a massive shared universe, and there's some things where I do share and some things where I don't. It just depends on what the story feels right. And like Jackson has acknowledged that the Salem books exist, but as books in his universe, and that's me kind of tagging myself. Um, I don't know because it's kind of like I don't necessarily want to see, Captain America versus Superman. I don't know if I want to see that fight because whoever wins, no one really wins. If that makes any sense. Otherwise, you just have them shake hands and walk away, and that's when like Jackson would stab Salem in the back. So I don't know, but I am working currently on the fifth Shadow Master book, along with the third Hammer of Witches book, which is the prequel series to the Technomancer.
Yeah, we're working on quite a lot of projects at the same time, and that's as a fellow writer, it's something I admire because I am terrible at working at multiple projects at the same time.
Well, it's funny you mentioned because I just got done doing a stream which won't air for multiple weeks on Red Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm.
So talking to Shay and Cy, and the conversation we had today was about imposter syndrome and how you get in your own way, and it can manifest as I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not clever enough, or it can manifest as writer's block or just creative deficiency. It manifests in a variety of different ways. And one of the ways for me to overcome that is by working on two projects at the same time. For the longest time in my writing career, all 7 years of it, it's I've been a one project at a time. This is my baby at the moment. That is my focus. And I realized that every time I'm not writing, I felt guilt. Like even though I'm not Catholic, hardcore Catholic guilt
Oh.
of like if I'm not writing, I'm not doing something, and therefore I'm a bad person. So I started writing two books at the same time, so I can bounce back and forth between comedy and tragedy. That way, I'm always feel like I'm moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
That way, like it alleviates that sense of guilt because I'm always working on something, and that made me feel better. So I have much more positive results, and it's a lot easier switching between the two gears than I thought. Because if I'm dark and gritty in this book, I can tell a bunch of poop jokes in the next one. It just works that way. So
Yeah.
I can get all the humor out that I can't put in the other one, or I can apply all the drama that shouldn't go in this one in this place. So it scratches all the creative itches.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I can see how it works. I don't know, knowing my own brain, I would probably start making poop jokes on very serious scenes, and it would not work out.
Well, because I too have like got that adult ADD brain, and this is the only thing that helps focus me because otherwise I'll sit there because you can see behind me. This is my little office with the green walls. This used to be our spare bedroom in our house. And when I became a full-time writer for legal purposes, I needed to have a room dedicated to writing.
Wow.
And it sucked because I now that it's here, my first day sitting in this office was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write. And nothing
I am
happened.
a real
Because
writer
it's like,
now.
this is the room, right? This is right. And I'm like, oh no. So I had to start like getting out of my own way and just hey, just let the process happen. Sit down, remove your distractions, put your phone across the room, play some music, and just get to work. And before I know it, I could start doing it. But otherwise, I'm going to sit there and like my brain's going to go a million different directions.
Mm-hmm.
And being confined to a single room was a pain in the ass. So I had to learn to overcome that.
Oh God. But it works out. I mean, you're writing. So how many books have you written? Like you said, you were an author for 7 years now. So how many books in total?
Well,
Quite a lot.
let me see. Well, this my first book came out in I think it was April of 2016. So this coming April will be 7 years since that came out. And shit, I don't know. 12. I don't even. Let me think. I've got currently 5 Technomancers out, 4 villains. That's 9.
Amazon author.
Right. I want to say like 12 or 13. Maybe more. Let me look. Let me see.
That is a lot.
Well, it is and it isn't. It's bloody hell. Where's my Amazon page? There it is. Me. Oh no, I got to Google myself. This sucks. 1 second.
Don't we all do that when we feel sad? Let's see how famous I am today.
All right, let me see. Yeah, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books. Nope, hang on.
We got another
13.
First time.
13 books.
13 books. Okay.
I think I'm right. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a lot. Just gonna say a quick hello to Tierson, who just dropped into the chat. Thanks so much for joining us.
I think that's my friend Frank.
You know people. Look at you. Completely hijacking my stream here. Please continue, because that will give me time to actually draw. So keep going.
Well, no, so it's one of those people like, I do have, I'm sorry, you had a question. Angela had a question. Which book do you enjoy writing the most? The only correct answer is The Shadow Mask. And which character do you like drawing more? Oh, Ratchet, hey.
Everybody's hijacking the stream. I feel like I'm a guest. I'm the guest here. Give me the boss.
Now
Continue doing it.
All right. Well, okay. Angelo, whatever book I'm working on at the moment is my favorite because I love all my children equally. That's a lie. It depends on who's paying me the most. And the answer is it's usually the villains books pay the most. That's like, I don't know what it is, but like nothing but like dumb humor and poop jokes and whatever. That's for some reason that seems to sell the most. But it allows me the time to work on my other more like dramatic children. So, and Frank, I know. So Tier said he likes the Deicide books too, but he also loves the prequel series to Technomancer, the Hammer of Witches books.
Yeah. I need to start reading those as soon as I ever get finished with the Technomancer books, because I'm kind of assuming that I'm in this for just the one book.
I hope not. Well, that's the thing is like, because I don't know how far you got. You said you were reading you got at a certain point. You got up to a certain point of book 3 in the Technomancer world. I don't know if you met the Chimera character or not.
was the moment where, without spoiling anything, Salem punches Vidar back into sanity. And I think you know
Oh,
which.
Volley. No, he punches Volley
Is
back
it
in
Vali?
sanity.
Oh, sorry,
Yes.
I thought it was Vidar. Oh, shit.
No, Volley had started drinking a little bit. So okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, okay. Okay, so it's
But
Vali.
no, that's Flotsam. That's
Is that
book two.
No, okay, then that is not. I'm confused now. Okay, I've got my chronology completely messed up. Don't mind me.
It's okay. So book three, there's a side character uh, that I really enjoyed so much. I wanted to tell her story, and since she also came before G Day, I wanted to tell her backstory, and that's what the Hammer of Witches books are. And some of there are a couple of characters in both series because they're long lived, and it's cool to see them in a different light. So it's been fun. But like what I've been building towards in both series is like there's a villain in the Hammer of Witches books, which has actually been a subversive villain hiding in the shadows in the Technomancer book since book one. And it's been an interesting ride. And I've been trying to be very careful to like thread that needle narratively between the two. You know, there's clues, but you won't realize it till after it's done. So
So, Hammer of the Witches. That is a title where, if I did not know any context, I would think, oh, this is like medieval fantasy. It's going to be about witch burnings.
well, that's the series. The first book is called She Dreams of Fire. And it's this girl like obviously she's like that. The pitch on that one is I like this idea of this, like I like the character from the book three, but then I had this other story idea and I blended them together about a girl who's a hemophiliac. And if you were a hemophiliac and you got a transfusion of witch's blood, what would happen to you?
Oh.
And those two story ideas kind of blended together to become that book. And she's very cool in her own way. So
That sounds pretty awesome, actually. So, what is it like getting your very first fan art for your books? What?
dude, I was so happy.
Let me pull that up. Let me see if I can still find it.
Well, here I have this thing framed over my desk too. Like I literally have my like I wait for the stream to catch up.
Ah, but that's the
The
Singularian.
one, yeah, but you sent this to me and I cherished it. It sits right here, right in front of my desk. That's not the first one. The first one was I thought it was
This is the very first one.
the Tesla one.
Oh God, yeah, I did that one too. Oh shit. Okay, but because was that really the first? No. Okay, I'll open Tesla. Where did he go? The Tesla bot. There we go. This one.
Nelson, is that you? No, because like unfortunately, like no, like because my eyesight is not what it used to be. So like especially like I got it in like dark mode. So like I'm trying to read that name. It's Frankenkellen. What does that say?
Franklin. It's Frank.
Here's the
Franklin, but
oh Franklin. All right, I guess that Frankenkellen. Yeah, I write for a living. No, because it's like I have the set in dark mode, so it's a dark background and the dark green. My eyes are having a hard time seeing the contrast. But like I'm pretty sure that's Mr. Nelson there because like he's a gentleman that helped me at A&D Con this past August. Like I had to unload a bunch of books and he just came out of nowhere. Never met the dude. He was like super helpful and super nice and was really cool all weekend. So I hope that's you. If not, I got someone else wrong.
If not,
but
if
that's you,
yes.
you were awesome. So the answer is you. You were the best looking guy who's ever helped me at unload books at A&D Con.
Is he also the only guy who ever helped you unload books on an IndieCon?
I was jealous of his hair. He's got glorious hair.
There are still. Why is this a returning subject? You always talk about other people and their hair.
Oh, I wonder.
Yeah. But actually, seriously, help me. Which one did you get first?
I thought it was. It might have been that, but I thought I swear it was
style. If I look at the style, I really think this one is the first because here I still use my Singularian brushes, my Singularian brush set.
Right.
And here
because I think that is. Experiment. Right, because I think that is because that's the standard background we use for the characters because the
Yes.
ink wash. But it was the first one that had the actual color watercolors. And I love those slight splashes of color
Here,
that
right? This one.
acts that bring out the dark. Yeah, that one.
All right. Oh, we got ourselves a new follower, by the way. Hey, Kayla. One.
Hey,
And
Kayla, how are
me.
you?
I cannot really pronounce. I'm butchering all these names, but thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. So this was the first time I actually played with like watercolors and almost like Aurora Borealis kind of light.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's dope.
I think this was the first one. I'm pretty convinced. I should check the production dates of these. Okay, you know what? I'm actually gonna check that out. The stream can wait. I need to know now. So. All right.
Oh, tears. Hey, thanks, Frank. Thanks
We
for
got a
following.
lot of followers. That is so cool.
So Frank is a dude. I go back. Shit, Frank. When did we meet? Like 1998. Uh, we. I was in the military, and I was in a kind of a bad place with just depression and drinking too much, and I was in a rough place. And then there was this group of like LARPers, these live action role play guys who like got me involved. And Frank was one of the guys who ran the game, and it brought me, gave me something else to do besides be self-destructive. And he's been my friend for the last bajillion years since like 1998. So he's a good dude. He's solid.
That's cool. You need.
All right,
in your life.
All right. So Nelson here, Franklin. Okay, real question. Do you typically get a story idea first and then add characters to that world, or do you think the characters first and then come up with the stuff for them to do? The honest answer is yeah, it is, and the honest answer is yes, because I'd love to say that there's a formula to it, but sometimes I'll get an idea for, let's say, a world. You know, like when I first created the Technomancer world, for example, I wanted something that was a little different because when I started thinking about the idea and writing and in my initial thoughts, a lot of urban fantasy was very popular at that time. So I didn't want to write exactly that. I wanted something a little bit different. And when I was a kid and I was forced to go to Sunday school, the book of Revelation scared the shit out of me because it's like, you know, after Jesus comes back, he's going to leave with all his followers, and everybody who's left behind on earth is going to suffer 1,000 years of darkness with demons running. I'm like, and that scared the crap out of me as a kid. So I wanted to that has stuck with me ever since. So I said, what would that world look like? And what if there was like magic and demons and things like that? Now, I did not know it, that I was kind of like doing my own version of Shadowrun, because I knew of the game, but I never played it. So it was one of those like happy accidents where I have a very Shadowrun like world. But when I think I said to myself, I have a cool world, but who's in it? What's important? You know, a setting is not a story. A story is a person and their tribes. So that's when Salem was born. Because again, I drew from my own life. So when I was stationed up in Alaska, I was had just made sergeant. I was living by myself. All my friends who used to be my friends were no longer my friends because now I was in a position of authority. So I was by myself, alone, in the winter of Alaska, dark and cold and alone. And I drew from that time so Salem, like that whole, like, I don't need friends. I can be an island unto myself, but that's not true about humanity. So that was the initial genesis of writing the Salem character. Someone who's lived through all these hard times, trying to convince themselves they don't need other people in their lives, only to have that to be taught, yes, you do. But when you have a character who's worldly, how do you make them the naive character to learn a lesson? Well, that's easy. You add a Gandalf-like character to show them what you think you know you don't know. And you can help guide them. And that's where Father Grimm was born. Also loosely based off of a person I knew back in the day, Frank's and I's common friend, a gentleman named Bob, who also, he was like a couple years older, a little more senior, always had this kind of like look on his face like he just knew what was going on, even if he's bullshitting. So I loosely based the Father Grimm character off this guy. I just used that as a mental template and then expounded upon it. So sometimes I come up with cool characters. Now, the other Franklin's other thing is, like, I used to doodle a lot of things back in the day. I used to doodle a lot of like character figures and give them backstories. Mm-hmm. So whenever I need a character, I'll go back to my old doodles. I'm like, that guy? Okay, I can fit him into this world and make him a new character, or, you know, flesh out the backstory. That was a very wordy way of saying yes to all the above. So sorry about that, Nelson.
It's cool though. I mean, I think one of the reasons your characters are so real is because they actually are. Um, I mean, there is so much about Salem and about Grim. Grim is actually very much one of my favorite characters in, well, at least in the first book. Um,
Right.
and it's just because there are so many things that they do, like little things, little small behavior, small ticks that they have, small things that they do that are so ridiculously real. And hearing you say, okay, well, these are loosely based on real people, it makes so much sense. I really think that is, one of the best ways to come up with your characters is to actually draw inspiration from people, because that's when you can really go in depth with someone or with a character.
Right. Well, I like to use real people as at least a two-dimensional template. Like it helps me once I have an idea of how they behave,
Mm-hmm.
I can then extrapolate and add and give more character depth. Because obviously, my friend Bob would never like exist. He does not know magic, and he's not living in this
He
world.
does
Blah
not.
blah blah.
Oh,
The character, So, well, not yet. Anyway, he might. Frank, do you know for sure? I don't know,
it might have secret
but
agent.
but it gives you a good starting point when you're creating other characters, and I do that with all my main characters anyway. Like there is at least someone in my life that I have met, and it gives me a good idea to go from that point forward. Like I said, it's a good starting point when you're trying to create a character.
So who did you
So
base Ricky on, or is that not like a main
weirdly
character?
enough, no, actually it is. He's not in the chat or anything like that.
So we
I had
can
a
speak
friend.
freely.
Actually, it was the yeah, no. There's a guy named Chris Barfield. He's a buddy of mine. We go way back. Uh, he's the guy who dared. He's like, I wish someone would, like I said, I wish someone would write a book about heaven and hell and magic and angels and shit, but maybe with like a Cthulhu like tip to it. And that was his. And I said, I'll take that bet. I was already working on some story ideas. I always wanted to write my first book, and this actually works with what I've been trying to do. So it kind of gave me the impetus to go forward and to actually get off my ass and try my hand at writing. So Ricky is loosely based off. They look nothing alike, but the character of the field, Ricky's tech guy, that's just Chris. That is just Chris working for Ricky. So Ricky is like a loose interpretation of him, but the Ricky character took on a life of their own uh, because I needed this sinister character figure. And like again, what you start with is not what you end up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much like with the artwork.
Does he really know magic, Frank? He might. I don't know. What about you? You're a writer too. Where do you get your inspiration for your characters from?
Me? Or are you talking to Chet now?
Yes, you. I'm talking to you, woman.
This is the weird part of Twitch, like when you're talking with people in chat, and then all of a sudden somebody asks you a question of, oh shit, yeah, I'm here too. That's right. Where do I draw inspiration? Jeez.
Yeah.
To be honest, I sometimes don't even know. It's like I get struck by lightning, and all of a sudden I know a person. I'm like, okay, I have to write this down. Other times, it is very much in a similar way that you sort of explained. Like you meet someone, you know someone, and all of a sudden you see a purpose for this person in your life because they need to be turned into your story. So it really is a mix of um, just inspiration just at very random moments, but also real life situations. With the art, however, I often do get inspired by characters that I sort of link to visual markers. Like I think in images very much. Like you can tell me
So do I.
anything. Yeah. You can tell me anything and I will watch the movie of what you're saying in my head. So when you
Agreed.
talked about Salem, I already had some sort of idea, and then you said, well, it's basically a mixture of what you say, Jensen Ackles and what's the Captain America dude? What's his name again?
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. There you go. And I was like, ah, yeah, I can totally see that. So from there, I find inspiration for this person literally by looking at images of these particular gentlemen, which I don't mind at all, honestly.
I remember
To
when
be
I told
fair.
you that. You're like, oh no, I gotta look at pictures of
Oh, I
Jensen
gotta
Ackles
do like a half-naked
and
version of,
Chris Evans.
Jensen Ackles. Oh my god. What a horrible job I have. It's terrible. Why are you doing this to me? And it's funny because my husband
All
then
right,
walks in and
Nelson
he's like, oh,
asks.
you
Oh,
got
go
another
ahead.
nude coming in? I'm like, no.
All
Not at
right,
all.
Nelson asked, what series would you want people to start with? We'll start with Sandy's. Get the Singularia now on Amazon. Then come back to me because it's her art stream.
That's the only reason. Thanks.
No. I didn't say the only reason. I said it's your
Oh,
stream.
okay, okay, okay.
Like she's great, and because also I loved the. I mean, because when I read like the first section I got of the Singularity, and like I said, I love the style. I love that kind of like lore card style of storytelling and the art. It was really. I mean, it was like I said. I wasn't blowing smoke up your ass when I wrote that review. It felt like an art project, but a beautiful. It was a written, living art project.
Yeah.
Singularian. I'll write it in there.
Yeah, that's right. Or alternatively, I'll write it down as well.
I think I spelled it right.
Yeah. So, and I just dropped the website. So, if you also want to look at some of the artwork that I do, and there's like speed painting videos, time lapse videos of artwork there as well. You can definitely have a look at the website. But thanks. It puts a smile on my face when someone says that this is an art project more than an actual book. And the funny thing is that has bitten me in the ass so often at this point because it's not like a normal book. A lot of retailers, a lot of people don't know what to do with it because it's not a book you just open
Right.
and you sit down and you start reading it. It's a book that you need to sort of experience. I mean, there's art in there, there's puzzles and mysteries in there, there's riddles you need to solve in there. There are so many layers to that project, and every time someone says this is art, I'm like, yes, finally someone who understands that this is not just your regular book. Did I make it very difficult for myself to sell the book? I sure as hell did. Do I mind? Not at all, because it's really. I think I've sold about 150 copies by now over like since March 2022. So I'm not complaining at all, actually. And most of these people who have bought a copy of the book, they come back to me in some way, either in real life, on conventions, or through a quick message on Twitter or anywhere. They reach out and they say, this was an experience and I enjoyed it so much. This was so refreshing. And seriously, that's why I do it. Like, I don't need to sell 1 million copies if everyone who buys the book comes back to me saying this was amazing. So yeah, it might be a humble brag in a way, but I'm okay with that.
So when it's that passion for it, like I said, when we started talking about this, and you were ferocious when we started talking about doing this project together, like, and it was to a point of like it. I had to like hold myself back a little bit because it was finally like I'm talking to somebody who wants to like do what I want to do, and I want to make sure I wasn't like living a dream because it it felt so good to like not just talk to, but also work with somebody like I want to go crazy with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we started like actually looking at how crazy we could go, it was just fun, and
that we can go.
right. And we have, and for all like 7 people watching, and probably 6 because I'm watching myself. And if you're watching your own stream, that's only like that's even
I
fewer.
don't think it counts.
But like,
We'll see.
but we have a plan coming out in next year that we can't talk about yet. But we're going to try to make this an even more inclusive project for everybody who wants to be involved, and it's fun. I can't wait. Yes, the book, the hardback edition, was likely going to come out in like, what do we say, May? Ish.
May, June, yeah. Like
Got it.
First half of 2023.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Background puppy demands attention.
yeah, I heard. I don't know. That was your dog barking, wasn't it?
Was my dog in
Yeah,
here?
it wasn't mine. I don't know. I heard like a. I don't know. Oh wait, I see my name in the chat pop up. Hang on, let me read that. Or
Yeah, you
can
do.
you read it for me so I can keep on drawing?
Yes, Sandy. How do you stay motivated when you get a bad review of your art? And I guess that question goes to Gibson as well. Yeah, people hate my art and they can suck it. No, basically, if you get a
It is
bad
the best
review, how do
approach
you
though.
deal with
Like,
it?
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's just the delay. My mouth had already done moving. The delay just caught up. So no, as long as you and I are speaking in real time, we're good.
That's good. Yeah, okay. That. I think that's the case. How do I stay motivated when getting bad reviews? Um, Luckily, there have only been one or two semi-bad reviews. I never really got like one-star reviews or someone who completely busted it. I think the worst
Has
I've
anybody ever
got.
said anything negative about your art?
Uh, Mainly myself, actually. Um,
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the thing with art is, and this is something that I've learned a long, long time ago, even when I was still in art school. Not everybody has the same taste in style, and this is something that is the same for books. Not everybody reads the same books, but for some reason, I have learned to accept that some people might not enjoy my art style, and I struggle less with accepting that than I do with my books. Like if somebody pisses on my book, it would hurt me more than when somebody says, I really don't like your artwork, you're an amateur. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Um, yeah, I don't know. Is that weird?
It's not. It isn't. I think you've done. Let's conservatively say 1,000 drawings in the last couple of years. Is that fair?
Last 10 years, yeah, I would say 100 drawings per year is pretty accurate.
Okay. So your volume of work allows you to have a few naysayers. Okay, maybe that one didn't work out. Maybe that one didn't work out. If you crank out a book a year
Mm.
or however long it takes, that is a smaller pool and it's a bigger target to your soul because you can't help but put a little bit of yourself into your writing. So when someone takes a shot at it and they could say it's bad
Mm-hmm.
or it's amateurish or it's just not good, that hurts. It does hurt because you're trying to get better at your craft. You always try to get better at your craft, and I could agree that some of my early work is not as good as my later work,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
I
that's normal,
can go
I would
back and
say.
try to make it better. What's that?
I would say that's pretty normal. Like your starting work is always of a less quality than the work after is. So it's pretty normal to look back at your work
Right.
and think you're better now.
Well, because you get better. You can look at
Exactly.
like, okay, here's how I would have done this. How I could have fixed this. So when someone takes a shot at you, it could be like they just didn't care for it. That's fine. They
Yeah.
didn't like the subject matter. That's fine. Um, I think, and I say this as a person who consumes a lot of media, TV, movies,
Mm-hmm.
books, and things like that. When you consume so much, it's like consuming too much food or even too much, dare I say, internet porn. You become desensitized
Yes.
to a point where it's like you have to look for spicier things to pique your interest or
Mm-hmm.
something that's so far out of the realm. So the sad story in storytelling is there's only so many stories you can tell if you strip them down to their bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, does the hero win? Does the hero lose? Is it a redemption story? Is it a comedy? Is it an
Yeah.
action?
There's
Like
like the
there's only a finite
seven.
number of actual.
Yeah.
Right, right. So however you spin your story, it's still going to be boiled down to those things. So when you're a mass consumer of media, it's that sense of been there, done that is
Mm-hmm.
going to be more prevalent in those individuals. And they become a little more harsh in their critiques. And I get that because I've watched so many movies that like I'll see something now, I'm like, it's just not as good as the ones I knew back in the day. Well, the ones back in the day may not have been as good. I was just younger then and had consumed less, you know.
Yeah.
So that being said, A Knight's Tale was still a perfect movie, and you can't convince me otherwise.
Don't make me sing the song.
Oh God. Well, when we were
It's not
talking
that
earlier
kind of
about
stream, people. It's not
the
that kind of stream.
Gelder land,
Yeah.
when we were talking about imposter syndrome, like just watch A Knight's Tale. It's literally a movie about imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
it's all you need. All the life's lessons you need are right there in that
are
flick.
in that movie. Yeah, and and to go a little bit further down that road of they don't make movies like that anymore. To be honest, I don't think they do. They don't make movies like that anymore. It movies these days are no longer about the moral behind it. They are not about the lesson to be learned. They are about blunt entertainment, about gorging yourself on action and VFX and whatever. It's There are so few movies left where at the end you're like, huh, what a good story. At
Yeah,
least in my opinion, my humble opinion.
I it's possible. I mean, you might be right. It could be. I mean, I'm at least a decade older than you, I think, and
Yes.
like I have friends that are a couple years older than me, so we all come from different age ranges. So we have like whatever movies or books or television were our cornerstones, our media happens to be. So I can't say that they make them like they used to, but I can say that I do agree to a point where it's like I love the MCU, but I am tired of the CGI orgy in my eye. I just early MCU was telling a story about these characters, and later it's about spectacle. And when things are about spectacle, that's neat,
Hmm.
but that's a one-off. That's a popcorn entertainment. I'm not. You got to give me some. You got to give me some character motivations that make me
This
come
is
back
the
to.
difference
So
between is it your goal or is it a means to an end? And I
all right.
think Marvel has made it into the goal rather than the means to an end. Um, if that makes sense, I don't know. Am I making sense?
Yeah. No. 100%.
Okay.
Uh, our buddy King Bradley here, Angela says, speaking of other media, would you rather have your characters been a movie or like a TV series? Now, what do you mean by ATV? Oh, a TV series. Never mind. I thought I'm dumb. Okay. Um, Honestly, I mean, I would love to see a movie with my characters. I can't speak for Sandy, but like for her books, but I would say I want a badass anime with my characters because that way you can still have the action scenes that would look really sick because you're the problem with like when you write a fantasy series or a cyberpunk series or something like that is you have an unlimited budget in your mind. But when you've got to translate something to TV or movies or medium, like my friend in LA who's a part-time producer, he's like, that does not translate. That's why things get scaled down because there's a budget to like how much stuff you have to build and create to
Yep.
make that look translate to a visual medium.
Hmm.
So anime is like, hey, if they can draw it, you can make it. So
Yeah, although I would not
all-terrain vehicle.
necessarily say that making an anime is cheaper than making a full movie. Not by definition. I mean, you can make it cheaper than a real life TV show, but it is not. It does not have to be the case. I mean, look at what Avatar is doing. I dare say that the making of Avatar, like the Blue Monkey movie, right? The James
Sure,
Cameron,
sure. If you're
that
James
cost
Cameron, you can get away with that shit.
a lot more money than whatever, um, maybe even the Rings of Power. I don't know. Would that be true? I don't know. But
I
animation
don't
does
know
does
because
not that. Yeah.
he's filming a bunch of movies at once, so like it's all hidden inside of a budget. I know that
Mm.
one that first season cost them almost a billion. So
Of Rings of Power, you mean?
yeah, Rings of Power cost like that season cost like I think they said like $1 billion.
Crazy. It's freaking ridiculous. I mean, yeah, no.
I mean, a lot of it had to go into the marketing too. So let me see.
I can see
Dearson
why
slash
also.
Frank. Yeah, let me see. The villain series. Each book feels like a standalone movie. Yeah, they kind of are. I think Technomancer and Hammer feel like they need a prolonged series to reach the depths of the stories. I agree. I would rather see those type of things in a long form if I could, but with a budget behind to like pull off the demon world or actually a TV series. Hammer of Witches would the Hammer of Witches book. So She Dreams of Fire would make a good television show because the fantasy element is there, but it's not in your face constantly. I try to use the magic and the weirdness sparingly so that the character story carries out, and when the magic stuff shows up, it's there for a reason. I mean, it's still there, but it's not as in your face as say Technomancer is, because that's you're literally in a world full of demons. So it's nothing but production value constantly.
Makes sense. Wait.
What about you? How would you like to see your if you had a if someone came along to you with a magic thing and said like we want to take some of your work and put it into another vehicle, what vehicle what would you like to see it under?
You know what? I would actually say turn it into a game. Make it into video,
Oh,
especially
that's awesome.
especially with the Singularian. Just make it into a game. Go and look for all the memories he's lost. Go and put all the puzzle pieces together. Literally decipher the codes. Find yourself a way forward. Um, because these books are about the experience, and I think in a movie the experience you get is one-way traffic, and I think in a game you get a lot more of the two-way traffic. Um,
Yeah, I take my answer back. I want Technomancer in a video game. Yeah.
Yes. I
So
think Technomancer
I
is
steal
a
your
great
answer.
story to use in a game format. It could be a shooter. It could. You know what? I could see that happen in the Cyberpunk 2077 engine.
I that'd be cool. I mean, I kind of imagine if this was a game, it'd be like a third person action, like open world action thing for a third
Mm-hmm.
person kind of thing.
100%.
You know, because you could get upgrades, do cool things, go to like go
Exactly.
to
It's
open
very
area, do
much
this
like
stuff.
V in a way, like the Cyberpunk game. Um,
Yeah,
so even for your own marketing, you could even use that as a comp title. I would say because the book reads the way the game plays. I think.
see, I never played the game, so I don't. I'll take your word for it. I'm always. I don't know about you. I always feel a little. I don't know if it's disingenuous or like I'm trying to write a coattail if I say it's like this but
But
different.
different.
You know, I.
I hate it, but
It's like this
the
thing,
whole the whole thing, the whole industry is designed
I
to compare
know.
work with. I hate it just as much as you do, but at some point you're gonna have to go with it because people are looking for the one thing but different.
Yeah.
Sadly it's how you sell your stories these days is by comparing it to others and saying, well, but this one does. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's not pretty, but there you have it.
Well, it's one of those like when I was talking earlier on the other stream I was on earlier today, like when we mentioned Marvel movies, I love the Guardians of the Galaxy because I
Mm-hmm.
love how James Gunn writes his characters.
Mm-hmm.
I love that amidst the zaniness and the action, and it could be crazy, it could be comedy, but there's always these broken characters with real pathos. And I can't help but like not emulate that or think I've subconsciously emulated that with a lot of my writings
Mm-hmm.
because I want those broken characters. I want that character to like uh amidst the silliness or the action, there's a person there who's like hiding the pain, like because like we all do.
Yeah.
We all walk through life with like,
But again,
some
that
people with a
that is
fake smile
what
on their face,
makes
some with
your
a real one.
characters come alive so much. Is because they have so much real stuff going on. I mean, they are both inspired by real people and they have real world issues to solve, and that's why we can relate to them. So please don't ever stop doing that.
See, now I'm kicking. Like, I don't know what book you read. I wrote a bunch of dumb jokes and made it. Clearly, I made a Shadowrun knockoff, and I don't deserve any kind of like praise from anybody ever. So,
The scene. Okay,
yeah,
okay. The scene where, and this is book one, and I'm assuming most people in chat have read book one at least. The
I think
scene
so.
where Salem is being tortured by Grimm, where he pushes him
Yeah,
over the edge just to think about what he wants. And I can hear Grimm say, "What do you want? What?" And just piss off again when he
yeah.
doesn't answer. And then at some point, Salem breaks. He breaks down into a million pieces, and he just says, "I don't want to be alone anymore." That scene, the fact that I can tell you exactly what happens is that means that scene stuck with me. Why? Because the
The
behavior in that
worst
scene
part
is
was
so real. Yeah.
but
Skull fuck your mother.
before someone skull fuck your mother.
Yes,
The
it's
worst
real.
part.
This is what a crazy ass mother frecker would say when he's being tortured. It was real, you know.
You want to know where that came from?
I I think when you say it, I'm gonna say, oh yeah, it's familiar. It's probably something familiar, isn't it?
No, it's not a moment I'm proud of. I
Oh God.
was fall down drunk on Jack Daniels at my apartment up in Alaska with depression, and I was arguing with myself out loud.
Oh wow.
Uh,
That escalated quickly because I thought you were going to quote like a
Yeah, I'm
movie or
sorry about
something.
that, but that's the truth.
No worries.
Like it's one of those like I guess I need to like I've had issues with alcohol in my past, so I
Mhm.
drink sparingly these days.
Mhm.
Social engagements, and I keep myself to a limited because I used to have a problem with drinking. It runs in
Yeah.
the family, so I have to be very very careful with it. I still like the occasional whiskey or the drink, and I can get a little goofy, but I have to know when is when. And I've worked very hard over these decades to like step back.
Mhm.
But I was so young. I was 20, fuck, what was I, 24 when I got up there, give or take. Nope,
Mhm.
nope, that's too young. 27. Let me see. I got there in 2002. Yeah, 27. And I was alone. Aren't I supposed to be married at this age? Shouldn't I have a kid? Shouldn't I shouldn't be alone and depressed and cold and in darkness constantly.
Mhm.
I was really having a hard time in my life, and I was drinking heavily on my when I wasn't at work.
Yeah.
And I had this literally fall down drunk moment arguing with myself. And that's when I came to my catharsis. I don't want to be alone anymore. And I had to start with fixing myself and stop being such a bastard, and maybe I wouldn't be alone anymore. And it was hard. It was a rough time. So like a lot of credit to Salem goes to like he's I punish him the way I felt like I should have been punished in my youth. So he gets all the damage I've done to myself. It's not an author self insert, but he definitely gets all my mental anguish that I've ever had to deal with. So
Well, if I
I'm
mean,
happier now.
yeah, and you know what? It actually sounds like a good outlet. I mean, it's better to put all that shit into a character and not put it on yourself. So I would say, job well done.
Oh, thank you. Speaking of job well done, look at that thing. It's like I'm watching it come to life, and it's baffling me how you do that because it's like did she go back in and add the light streaks? I'm like, no, she just shades around it and she'll color it in later. I'm like, that still baffles me because I'm looking at every fold in the pushed up sleeve, and I'm like, I hate you sometimes. You're right, King Bradley,
Thank you. Oh,
Angelo. It is amazing. That's the reason like she agreed to
oh,
do this stuff.
thank you.
Now
That
ask
you
her
mean
where
to
she
that?
steals her weapons from.
Oh, what?
It's
No,
from
don't ask her.
Destiny.
No, la 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 la. Yeah, no, yeah. You know what? I admit, I steal a lot from Destiny. Was there? Oh,
I don't blame you.
hang on. I will show you the one that I'm most proud of that I stole from Destiny, full color. There we go. The Heritage shotgun
Let me see
combined
that
with
baby.
Seven Seraph shotgun. There we
Oh
go.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There
yeah.
we go.
I love that thing.
Yep.
There's some early Salem sketches before we settled on the Jensen, but he's got that Deckard face, and I like he's just like, nope, I ain't messing around.
And I love like I literally in every image I make, he has a cigarette in his mouth. It's just it is. I draw his face and a little cigarette in there because he's like that.
Yeah, a friend of mine said like, I don't care how many cigarettes he's squirreled away. He should be empty by now. There's no way he has cigarettes left at this point. The way you make him smoke.
Isn't that the reason why at some point the mask actually gives him one of the sin smokes?
Yeah, I solved that problem in one of the later books. He gets a magical cigarette case that never
Aw.
empty. Um, but it's one of those things like I vape now, but I was a smoker for 20 plus years.
Mhm.
So when I was writing this, my son was starting to emulate me by picking up my old cigarette butts when he was like a year and a half old and putting them into his mouth. Like,
Ouch.
well, I gotta quit.
Yep. Nope. That's not good.
So uh, every time I get the urge for a cigarette, which is all the time, like, so I make Salem light a cigarette. And like my old publisher is like, "Do all your characters in your book smoke?" I'm like, "It's how I cope, asshole. Don't judge me." So yeah.
Yeah. It's I don't know. When I first read the first book, it was something that I don't know, getting used to it is not really the right way to describe it, but it made me laugh because at the same time I was like, okay, this is part of who he is. He's just a freaking chain smoker. It's how it is. And at the same time, like
Well, I
I don't
also
think it
wanted.
is. okay to smoke that much, like that much. But yeah,
Well, he's got regenerating lungs. It's okay. It's
exactly.
it's a
Like,
callback, honestly.
it, yeah,
It's a callback to the old detective pulp dime store novels where like the hard boiled detective, like you're writing sentence fragments, they drink whiskey and they're constantly smoking cigarettes
hmm
because that's how they deal with the pain and the
and
trauma of just the mean streets.
yeah,
that archetype.
it's like
And
in the
so I
80s you
wanted a
could still
little bit of a
sell that,
callback.
but these days you can no longer
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. You know what? It fits him. It's who this guy is. Even though I don't smoke myself, but
Oh,
it's yeah.
yeah. So Angelo said like the hooks in the prison lives on in my brain every day. I don't think you got to that scene in Flotsam yet. Needless to say, Salem goes through some more shit,
hmm
and there is a scene where when he goes to prison, he's hung on a hook under his jaw,
Ouch.
and it's rough. And actually, I stole that. I was watching. So again, Alaska. I didn't hook myself, so
You
that's
did
not this.
not.
Um, I was sometimes when we're working these 12-hour midnight shifts, we'd have some dumb TV up in the corner just playing something while we're working, and it was the history of torture on the History Channel. And when the Brits, I forget when it was, but during their version of the Inquisition, that's how they would get people to confess, is they would put a hook under their soft palate and out their mouth and hang them from that.
Ooh,
And it freaked me out just the thought of that. I'm like, well, I'm stealing that and putting it in a book. So,
that's
and unfortunately, Salem gets that treatment. So yeah,
got special treatment. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
that's. I hope he did not get any pairs of anguish, for that matter.
You'll see when you get to the book.
You
You
know what? This
think
is
you
the
got
this
shit
is
to
the
draw
weird
on this
stuff.
one?
Like
Wait till the next one.
I've read the book. This is just stupid because I have been so focused on this first book. I am completely mixed up with all the timelines and what happens in what book and what did I read
It's
and what did I
okay.
not read. It's weird. Yeah, it's okay, but it's not really because it totally draws me out of the overall narrative of the series. But I am so focused on this first book right now, and it's just
No, I
it
get it,
yeah.
and I still owe you quotes for the other project. Damn it, I'm bad. Okay.
No. You know what?
Uh,
Your first priority is to finish the character descriptions because I'll be needing those halfway January. So, so do your yeah.
Okay. So by Friday, I'll have everything done,
All of it. Nah.
all of it.
Okay. Well, if it works, I
Once
mean,
I
sure.
once I give myself a task, and I'll do it. So, and I said it here. So by Friday, all the work will be
So
done.
okay. So you want me to like make a list of the characters that I need?
I have it. It's on my whiteboard behind
All
me.
right. All right. Okay. All right. You got this. You can do it. Oh man.
And Ratchet was asking like, what? She's like, oh, since we play Destiny, like, what character do you play? And I said, we're both
Warlock.
Warlock
All
mains,
the
and
way Warlock. You know
yeah,
what? No,
all the
let's
way
not go into
Warlock.
Destiny right now. It's not that kind of stream. But I cannot wait for Tuesday and to see that the new artifact is going to be stasis. I'm going to brush up all
I
Hammer
am
Scepter.
stoked for that.
You are or you're not?
Oh, I'm excited. I liked Stasis a lot. Like Stasis and Void are my two preferred my playing
Yep.
things. And come back to Stasis, like I want to see what kind of new things they'll add to the class items and things
I
like.
don't
I
think they
miss
will. I don't think they
the
will
one.
add anything.
Uh,
I think it's just going to be playing
that would.
around with the new meta, which is going to be SMGs, grenade launchers, and you know what? Why not glaives? I'm glaive all the way. I named my glaive Sherman, by the way. That should tell you how seriously addicted I am to using glaives. And foreign say
Oh,
always makes fun of
Frank
me.
is like I'm reading.
Sorry.
Oh, well, Frank is now. I'm reading Singularian as I listen. I'm liking it so far.
Ooh.
All right. Positive review of from our friend Tiersen/Frank on the Singularian.
Did you actually just buy the book on Amazon or something?
He probably got. I mean, probably at least the Kindle version, if nothing else.
Awesome. Yeah, or I don't know, maybe he subscribed to the Patreon and he's gonna get the monthly novels. I don't know.
Well, that'll work too. Yeah.
That's cool. I actually sold a book. Little party dance. Little celebration going on here. Thank you so
Yay.
much. This stream is.
It's like when I get those Amazon royalties. I don't know, like when you check your bank account, I see the Amazon royalties roll in, and then it's like I see like however many click down, it'll be like American, Canadian, like the money values are getting smaller and smaller and smaller until like
Dude,
Lithuania, like
my
here's your like
Amazon my
your
Amazon
nickel. So
royalties have been stuck at zero
yeah.
for the last couple of months.
Oh,
Um, but it's like I
oh.
said, I sell a lot more of these books when I'm at conventions. So I sell books,
Same.
just not over Amazon. Um, so it's actually kind of cool to have a royalties incoming now because of the stream. I enjoy that.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I do better on Audible than I do on ebook.
Hmm.
I always have for some reason. So where my narrator pinged me earlier this like late last week was like, "Hey, the next project, do you want to do the Cape as a Lie or the next Technomancer? Because it looks like the Cape as a Lie's only got like 10 reviews on Amazon." I'm like, "Well, it's a comedy, and those do better on Audible, and I want to see this series succeed." Um, because I think this could be the next comedy series that can like actually make some money.
Hmm.
But of course, I want to do the next Technomancer. But like book 5 in a series that people are enjoying, great. But book 1 of something new has a better shot of like market, and that's what sucks. It's because you have to look at it from a business standpoint.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah, and for like the little passion projects, that's why you have this illustrated Technomancer book. I mean,
yes,
and everything
it's
else is just business.
it's all. And just so folks know, when the time comes when this book comes out, we're splitting this. It's like we're splitting the royalties down the middle. So every time you buy one, or every time you buy many, but every
Buy
sale,
all of
Sandy
them.
gets half of it.
Yeah,
So I want folks to know that.
yeah, and I guess this also plays along the stuff that we can't really talk about yet.
Yeah,
And I really need to stop talking there. Shall I just keep my mouth shut? Yeah, I should. There we go.
yeah. I warned Science Shay. Like I will have
No,
to
oh, you
the
did? Oh
Gilderlandian
man,
blabbermouth.
I can't believe it. You did? What did you tell him? What did you
Well,
tell
no,
him?
but the thing is, there's a difference between like just talking and like being excited. We have some stuff coming up in the new year that we can't wait to talk about. And let's just say there's more than just the book
Oh,
that we can't wait to see if we can get it into your hands. So
yeah, and I think it's also why in this newsletter, like this month's newsletter, we we dropped a little hint. Well, it wasn't even that little. We basically started mention a collection for the very first time, and
yeah,
that's all. I will
yeah.
stop there. But the fact that we are calling it a collection should give away that it is more.
At least the first part, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right. I really gotta shut up now because this is gonna go wrong.
So are you gonna go? Okay, when you do the hammer, like when you do your art, do you do like the foreground lighter or darker? Because like I know it's like the reverse. Like I've always been taught like whatever's in the foreground is gotta be darker than whatever's in the background. But how are you gonna do it? Because I'm always just fascinated about the process. What are you thinking when you're drawing or you're coloring?
I don't think when I'm drawing, and I think that is why most of my art teachers didn't like me. This is actually, and this is why I do this so much, is because this shuts down my brain. This is gonna stop my brain from thinking and overthinking and just doing stuff. This is just I pick up the pen, I pick up the tablet pen, and I just start drawing.
Yep.
And I always start with the eyes, and I work around from there. It's like you drop a little drop of ink, and from there it'll start flowing outwards. That is how I work on all of my illustrations. So I start at the eyes, and then from there everything else comes. If the eyes are in the foreground, that's perfect. I'll work my way to the background. If the eyes are in the background, like in this case, I will work my way to the foreground. And the funny thing is, like you said, okay, so the foreground should be darker. That's bullshit. The foreground should be um, drawn with the light intensity of where the light is. So in this case, if there would be a spotlight on Salem, but the hammer itself would be like more of a silhouette because it's outside the light source, yeah, it's going to be darker, but it could be just as well the opposite. The spotlight could be at the hammer and Salem could be in the dark here. So what would happen is that I would grab the big old, really big black brush, and in the end I would just make him as dark as I would need it to be. I'm not going to do that right now, but drawings, they decide what they want to do. I'm just like the medium that does it. But yeah, I try not to think too much.
And was that gun supposed to be his penis?
I've returned you to that kind of channel already. You know what?
I
Somebody
gave it.
has
It's
to
been
correct
like
me.
an hour.
Okay, it's been an hour. I'm gonna. There you go. Next question. What do we find in Salem's fridge?
George.
Yep, George in
Um,
the background. Random George appearance.
let me see. What do we find in Salem's fridge? Cigarettes and beer, of course.
Pack of cigarettes hidden in the
In
fridge. Okay.
Salem's fridge, he's gonna have his pre-prepared uh smoothie drinks. To It's a little mix of base minerals, plastics,
Mm-hmm.
and all the things he needs to keep his body running. Uh, some kind of pilfered, like probably like some. I imagine like astronaut food, like stuff he can just grab and go.
Oh, you add
Um,
water and it turns into cake or something.
Basically,
And he's
like
got
it's
all
the
the,
it's
the,
the
the
it's
frozen food, right? The cryo
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, because he'll keep that stuff in the stasis box, the actual fresh stuff that he wants to keep,
Mm.
like basically slightly out of time, so it stays in stasis, hence the name. But in his normal fridge, I imagine he'll have like a little bit of just whatever he's hankering for, because he'll probably grab like he'll have some meat, some like, but it's probably like the synth stuff, like the stuff he just has like in case I need it, like I imagine what is food like in this hellscape future where like demons still like microwave burritos. So I imagine all the bad food we have now that is just that's frozen and you cook it in a microwave. I imagine I don't see the future having a lot of fresh vegetables or whole grains. I think it's all
Mm.
like
Processed food
product
and
and
yeah.
packaged and processed foods. But if you start getting sick, you just take a pill or you get a cybernetic augment and just deal with it. So
So how accessible are augments or augmentations to people in the Technomancer world? Because I mean,
I
cyborgs are
imagine
sort
that
of frowned upon, aren't they?
well, they're not frowned upon. I think it's more like I think it's kind of like okay, you can go buy a car. You can go buy a I imagine I'll use the equivalent. There's got probably you probably go to a used car lot and get the 3,000 euro equivalent of a car that'll get you from point A to point B, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, or you could spend huge sums on a really high end like a Lexus or
Mm-hmm.
BMW
Yeah, big
or
fancy
something
ones,
like
right?
that.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure the augments would be something like that. If you want to pay the credits for like something of quality, you can get it. But and those are come with like built-in immunosuppressants and things like that, so you can live longer. If you lost your job in a factory and you need a basically like the loader arm from Aliens to like pick up thing and put down thing, oh, they can slap that on you with a power supply, but uh, everything's got it won't be good for you in the long term. So
Mm-hmm.
I imagine they're pretty easy to get. You can get them probably reputable and disreputable because like I think I mentioned it's something like
There was
back
back alley.
alley,
Yeah.
some kind of junk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's just I don't want to say it's frowned upon, but it's like if you need it in your job, like, hey, could you become a better I mean, it's a crappy world, so it's like, could
could
you be
you
a
could you
better
suck less? Like, could you be better? Could you try not to suck?
right? Well, could you be? Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing is like it's yeah. Well, if you were like I said, if you were like if you were stuck, if you're working in a dock, nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
hard work, but it's backbreaking work.
Yeah.
So what if you had leg augments that like help you like lift the load and everything better, or
Mm-hmm.
what you don't need supersonic hearing to like work at the dock, or if you were a security guard somewhere, maybe you want a gun augment in your arm so you're never not armed. I imagine like it's because I've worked so many blue collar jobs in the time. I think about how many jobs I could have like. Wow, if I had like a cyborg legs,
Oh
I
yeah.
would my back wouldn't be killing me the way it is today.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. So did you know the Deus Ex games when you started writing Technomancer? Like, did you draw inspiration from that?
not intentionally. I mean, I think I knew of the first one. I never played it. I think I started playing the second one,
It's good. It's a good game.
and like it's one of those like when did the first one come out? That first Deus Ex.
Was
Let me
it
see.
2009 ish? The very first one?
Yeah. I think I knew of that series, but I didn't start playing. 2000. First release in
Oof.
June 23, 2000.
I feel old.
I did not start playing first person games, like really start playing them until BioShock, the first
Oh yeah.
BioShock game. And that's the first game that ever said to me, when did that first come out? That came out 2007. That's because in my stupid young man brain, first person games were like, I didn't play, everything was Doom. It's all shooter, it's
Mhm.
all this thing. And I didn't care about the lore at the time. And I'm like, I did not need another dude bro to tell me about how he sniped a guy at 1,000 yards and blah, 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 blah. And it was Bioshock that said, hey, no, you can do an awesome story in first person. And it took me back to some old Nintendo games. There was one called, what was that game called? Deja Vu. It was an old classic original Nintendo game where you are a dude who woke up in a bathroom stall and go.
Mhm.
And it was like a mystery. Like you're trying to solve your own mystery. Like, how did you end up there? How did you have amnesia? What's going on? And it was an interesting. So
Almost like
Bioshock was one
Memento,
of those
sort of.
first games that came. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so Bioshock was the first game that I played in the first person that like was more than just a shooter. At least to me, I'm sure the games existed, but I was so anti first FPS that I didn't give them the time of day.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see how
so
that works.
I didn't play the first Deus Ex, and I it's one of those things like I didn't even read the
Most
first
people jumped on
Neuromancer
board that
until years.
series with
Yeah.
Human Revolution, and then afterwards Mankind Divided anyway. Like, I don't think a lot of people are actually even aware that there are like 5 or 6 games of that franchise, like in the first place. They don't know. Most people don't even know that.
Oh, I did not know that.
So the one in 2000 is, it's not a turn-based game. I think it was like a very old RPG sort of thing that had multiple outcomes. I think it was the first game that had multiple ending possibilities. Um,
Okay.
and then I think in 2005 there was another one. But they all sucked. And Human Revolution was the first game that featured the Adam Jensen storyline. And most people think that is where the franchise started, but it's a lot older than that, really. Um,
Because even the Jensen character, my Jensen is named Jensen because my friend Eric Jensen,
mhm.
who I based the character off of, and that's it. And I had nothing to do with like
The fact that he was
the
an
Deus
augmented
Ex things.
cyborg, kind of.
Right. Nothing.
It
My
was though.
friend Eric Jensen was the first person. We would be at work and we go outside to the smoke dock,
Mhm.
and I would play what we just call we go outside and have cigarettes, and he would listen to me ramble about my book ideas, and he was so patient and kind that I had to thank him by putting him as a character in the book. So at least using him as a template and then creating a character around him. So
That's cool. I like how that works.
yeah,
Okay. Zoom out for a second.
dude, that looks sweet.
He needs a bit more shadow in his face, though.
Because right now it looks like the light source is coming off basically the hammer.
Yeah, is that wrong? I think that's the idea, sort of a glowy thing. But I need to be careful because you also have the glowing things around his tech razors. So I need to, like,
Sure.
here in the middle, he needs to be a bit darker because there's going to be another light source in there. Um,
Okay.
but, well, it's nothing we can't fix later. Like, usually
Well, it'd be almost cool, like, because if the light's coming off of, like, the main light's coming off the hammer and the light on his face and on his right side, the picture's left.
Mhm.
But if, like, the light source, if the light things, if the bracers glue a different, glue, like, that's a word, glowed a different, like, neon, that'd be kind of cool to see those colors, like, in the, like, in his leg. And that's just me. I'm just being, because I like, how much I like the cyber colors everywhere. So,
Oh, that will happen. That will definitely be the case. Uh, where were we? All right. If Grim had a pet, what would it be?
oh, it'd be a cat. I hate to say it. It would be just a generic house cat. I know that's the most boring answer, but considering how often he goes away and does things, he needs a pet that can take care of itself. He wouldn't want to put like an emotionally needy animal like a dog through that kind of like separation anxiety. So probably like a real asshole of a house cat that's just like, as far as like the cat owns the place and Grim lives there. As far as that's the kind of dynamic they would have. So, did you ever see the movie? What was it, Gross Point Blank? Where he says, "Feed the cat," and it's like you don't even know what the gender is. Like I don't get into his business. It doesn't get into mine. So like that kind of level of like love and understanding with the cat. So
Okay, it kind of makes sense. It does. I would also say, like, he could have a dog and just bring the dog with him. I don't know.
he
It
could.
could even be like a, I don't know, werewolf kind of thing. Go crazy. Go wild.
Well, I have In the She Dreams of Fire and the Hammer of Witches book, I have a pet and it's a talking rabbit. So
There you have it.
my wife, my several of my like fans and my wife especially, like the one rule is if you kill that rabbit, I'm coming for you. So I'm like, okay,
It's like John
noted,
Wick's
good to know.
dog.
So
They killed my dog.
yeah.
They killed my talking rabbit. Oh god.
Well, I was doing research on mythological animals because I knew I wanted Aggie to have a sidekick. But because
So give her a talking rabbit.
well, here's the thing, like because obviously, like a talking animal is always great because it's just fun to have. Especially in a story with magical elements. But I wanted something outside of the norm, so I was doing some just research on various mythological animals, and I came across this legend in the Middle East about a creature called Al Mirage. And it's a rabbit that has a unicorn horn going out the forehead, but they would terrorize local villages. They would eat anything. They were incredibly lethal, and they actually had to pay witches to go kill and take on this Al Mirage. So imagine, what if there's this creature, as long as it consumes, it just keeps living, and it's kind of a badass and has a stick up its ass about how awesome he thinks he is. And what if he got saddled with the Aggie character, and then one thing led to one thing led to the other, and now I've got this character that's beloved for all 8 fans who read that series. So like
all 8 fans, come on. I bet you there's a lot more people reading the books. A lot more.
There are. It's just like, again, it's like I love that Aggie book and that character, and it's gritty, and it's some of like my better drama writing. But it doesn't pay the bills the way the villain stuff does, and that's just you can't argue with your market. So they decide what they like. So
very true.
Actually, Frank, like Tier send Frank/Frank. Yeah, Grim has a goldfish. Better answer. You just walk away.
Just walk away and it will never die. Did I ever tell you I have a phobia for fish, by the way?
No, you didn't tell me that.
I do. It's awful, and I tell you where the phobia comes from, because this is quite a story, so everybody hold on to your butts. I used to have fish when I was little, or actually my dad used to have them. And we had these like the black fish with the big bulgy eyes. I don't know. I have no idea what
Right.
those are named. But at some point, those fish had there was a virus in the water or something, and the eyes would actually pop from they would just hang like with weird bubbly eyes. And they would just be swimming around, and they would get better. In the end, they got better. But I remember that was the first time I looked at a fish, and I was horrified. And shit just went down from there. So after that, we had the little the tetra guppies, like the red and blue ones, the small ones. And we had a very big aquarium first, and then we put it in a smaller tank because we didn't have so many anymore. But because there were so many plants in the water, there was a lot of oxygen in the water. So when you cut down on the oxygen in the water, the fish start swimming upwards and eventually just die. So within like a couple of days, we just had a little aquarium tank with a lot of dead fish in there, which was awful. Then, you know what most people do when fish die, right? They flush them through the toilet. I would be the kind of person to then use the toilet first after the fish got flushed. Well, guess what came back swimming? Yes, there were a lot of dead fish in there because they did not flush correctly. Then I gave up on fish for a while, and I got myself a goldfish after a couple of years because, it's just cool to have one of those little astronaut helmets with some plants and some goldfishes. But nobody ever told me that goldfish tend to jump from their aquariums, from their confinements. So what happened is that in the middle of the night, I was sleeping like an idiot, because I sleep like an idiot. I starfish everywhere. And that fish jumped from the bowl, like the astronaut helmet, into oblivion. And chances are like 1 in 5 billion zillion, but that fish landed in my hand while I was sleeping. So what did I do? Yeah, you laughed, but I was horrified. So what did I did not even, like, you're in between sleep and waking up. Yeah, like you realize something is weird. You're holding it like it's cold. What the fuck is this? And at some point you get like this moment, this lightning fast second of sanity saying it's a fish, and you just throw it away, and you could hear it go against the door of the closet, and it would just be there all night on the floor. And I would just sleep. I was like, okay, so we got water leaking somewhere, whatever. I'll look at it in the morning. And then I woke up in the morning. Well, guess what was staring at me at the floor? A dead fucking goldfish. And I will continue from there. We go to the zoo, and the first aquarium I look in, there's a dead fucking fish. I used to go fishing with my sister, and my sister would catch 40 fish a day, and I would have nothing. I would have more, and this is the thing, like you would think that I would learn from my mistakes and just stop having fish altogether, right? But no, no, no. I kept on going because I wanted to succeed at something. So I got more fish, and then I got myself a little filter to clean up the aquarium so that I don't have to clean it every week. Well, guess where all my fish went? Inside the cleaning filter. So all kinds of dead body fishes, corpses sticking out of the filter. It was awful, and I don't like fish, and they don't like me, and that's just how it is.
It just reminds me of that scene in Poltergeist when all the bodies are coming up out of the pool
Yeah.
and she's surrounded by corpses. So
That was what my aquarium looked like at some point, yes. And it is awful. No, fish and me is not, it's, no, no. And you know what, to top it off, my parents made me believe that fish sticks were made from goldfish. And I think I was around 14 before I realized that is not the case. So I'm a bit, I've had my fill of fish. I'm done with them. Yeah. So
I'm watching you draw, and it's just like, oh, that looks good.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
The funny thing is, like I do quite a lot of these art streams these days. Like I started last month, and the channel has been growing pretty okay. But there is always one moment in every stream where people say, "You use the same brush. You've been using the same brush for like 2.5 hours." I think during the last stream you were there as well, Gib, where you said,
Yep.
"Really, like I can fix your sink, but I only have a hammer."
Yeah.
That was what you said. Yeah, that's just how I work. Like once I have settled on a style for a specific illustration or a series of illustrations, there is pretty much only one brush that I use to get the job done. And of course, there are special effect brushes. Like I use brushes for, tattoos and lightning effects.
Sure.
As soon as I do the tech brazier, you'll see that I start using brushes for that. But all the effects that I need can be done with one single brush. And it's funny because after 10 years being an artist, that still surprises people.
Well, it is because I took a time to step back and think about it after you bring that up after the last stream, because not everybody knows there was a period in my life where I was a tattoo apprentice. I never got a chance to touch skin because I could, drawing is not the same as tattooing. I mean, you have to draw the outline, but mostly tattooing is getting a solid outline in before you do anything else, and then it's just applying the shading and the colors as you go and blah blah blah. But so it was like something my teacher, like mentor, however you want to refer to it, was teaching me. But there's a couple of tattoo artists out there, and one of the more famous ones is a guy named Paul Booth, and he only uses he uses a needle with one line. That's it. Because most tattoos have that needle is actually several needles all put together, and it gives you there's a liner one, there's a shader one, some are flat, some are like 8 needles together to get a line. He uses just one needle for his incredibly detailed portrait work and horror style. That's like, and that's just how he tattoos, and he's world famous for it. So I took a step back. I'm like, I think I was just being a little because, when I'm playing with my own art programs, there's 1,000 brushes and I've used like 7 of them,
Yeah.
So
but look at my library. Look, I have a lot. I have a lot. I mean, there's easily 1,000 brushes in that library. But for the Technomancer, I only use this one. For the Singularian, I only use this one, like this particular thing, and I use different sizes and different opacities and all kinds of different settings. But like I explained to you before, it's like having a real paintbrush and just applying different amounts of pressure. Changing the angle of your brush can do a lot with the effect. So I do have a lot of brushes, but I only use one mainly. I
Can
totally
we put
forgot
some
where I was
fur
going at this
on
point.
Salem's boots?
What?
Can we put some fur on Salem's
No,
boots?
God, no, no, no. I'd rather draw his nipples. Maybe you should give some context on this part of the conversation for the people in chat.
Nope,
Because,
nope, not at all. Let them figure it out. So, okay, during Sandy's last stream, she was drawing Vidar. If you follow her on Facebook and Twitter, and you'll see some of these pictures as they come up. But she was drawing one of the characters in the book, Vidar, and Vidar is based off the Norse god Vidar, who killed Fenris Wolf after Fenris Wolf killed Odin in Ragnarok. There you go. Now, if you look down to his boots, his boots and his bracer specifically, I wrote it so that this character Vidar's got a bit of the wolf in him, and he has to use these things to kind of keep it restrained. So his boots and his bracers have fur, and this woman bemoans doing the fur texture so much that and like every time she's like, "Should I do more fur here?" And the answer was always yes, more fur, just because I want to hear you complain about it. Like it's kind of like when you tease somebody because you know you're going to hear them complain and you tease harder. Yeah, that's it. That's all it is.
That's the kind of person Gib is. Yeah, that about sums it up.
Yeah, I'm an asshole, and I admit it.
It was fun though. It was a very fun stream. And you and cool. Foreign State being total assholes, and me just doing okay. I'm still trying, and I'm having so much. I'll do it. Yeah, you both enjoyed that way too much.
Yeah. Well, it's also weird because I consider State a buddy, even though we've never met in real life. Same as you. It's like one of those, like, he's like, again, another person from the Destiny clan that, like, you know, just, you know, for those who loves Destiny, you know, he's a Destiny streamer these days. You know, he streams. I know Destiny's been primarily what he does, but Foreign State, he's, what do I call him? Irish Daddy. Yeah, so
Irish Daddy. I call him Potato King, but he's now officially dubbed into Irish Daddy. He does not like that, by the way. So we should call him.
Oh, like for real? Because I was just teasing. But if he doesn't really like, because if he's playful, I don't like it. I'm going to keep tugging. If he legitimately like Gib, I don't like that. Like then I'll stop. You know, because my asshole is only for a show. Like I don't actually want to like make somebody upset or hurt their feelings or anything like that.
I don't know. Ask him. For me, I think it was mainly just fun and banter.
Okay, as long as we're doing a bit, I'm okay. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. We'll see. Call him that again and see how he responds. You know, I mean, he can't really punch you in the face or anything, so that's a good thing.
No, but still, you know, like I try to be considerate to those who I call friend.
You try, yeah. You were being very considerate when you made me draw more fur, so I'm not quite sure if your definition of
like I said, the more you complain, the more I'm gonna poke. Like if you legitimately like, no, my hands hurt and I'm done. I'm like, okay, then don't worry about it. No big deal.
That's the thing. My hands don't get
if you're like
drawing. I can't lie.
Then more fur.
No, I will not give Salem fur. He's not the furry kind of guy.
Okay.
I did give him. Wasn't that one of the first sketches where I asked, does he have like an earring or something? Because I feel like this guy needs an earring, and you were like, I've never really thought of that, and I gave him an earring. And I think we were both like, that works on him.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, why not? I imagine at his age, because most people like in the stream have like who know the book, or some people are just in there for your art, and that's cool. Some people might for the book. You know, he's been around for like a couple 100 years, and so I figured he's tried a lot of things. You know, you have to alleviate boredom. So sure, I'm sure at some point he had pierced ears or whatever. It's cool. Do it.
Yeah, pierced nipples.
That hurts more than you think.
I can't imagine. Strangely enough,
it wakes you up. I'll tell you that. You know, like the first time I didn't get them done at the same time. When I had my first nipple piercing, it was like I was drinking and down at Virginia Beach, and I was talking to this girl. She asked me why I was drinking so much during the day, and I was just kind of depressed, you know. And she's like, "Well, I'm gonna go do something young and stupid. You know, I'm gonna go get a piercing. You want to come with me?" I'm like, "Sure." And I went with her, and I watched her get her nipple pierced. I'm like, "Nope, I'm done. Not doing that." And the guy says, "Sit down. You already paid for it." So like I sat down. He's like, "All right, you went left or right?" And I'm like, "I pick one, sir." You know, and he just jabbed a needle in there and did it. And I was like, "All right." Then I was like, I already had a tattoo on my left shoulder and my left nipple pierced at the time. So I was like, well, now you need a tattoo on my right shoulder and my right nipple pierced to feel balanced. So I went and had that done. So yeah,
Yep, yep, yep.
uh
I see like nanotech nipple rings in
oh,
chat.
now that's a book
I'm gonna
title
let
right
you
there.
simmer on that one for a bit.
Dude, nanotech nipple rings. Like that's either a band or like I could spin that into a story. That's a Technomancer short story.
That could be a
I'll
book
tell you
on its
what.
own, man.
Yes, Frank, nanotech nipple ring. You heard us correctly.
I will not be illustrating that book, by the way.
The shit you're not.
Dang. Oh, we're getting close to the coloring process, though.
Yeah, we are. You gotta color in some rock down there. Put some shadow under
Yeah,
his
I still need
butt.
to do that. I wanna do the shadow behind it first, um, and then do the rubble, and then I can do the color gradients. So should not
Mm-hmm.
take too long.
Now that's another talk me through that process. I swear, it looked like you just clicked buttons and made color appear. Like you don't go back in and like actually just like do like a color layer over top of it, do
I
you? You
can.
just
I
you
can totally can. And so you know what, for the Christmas holiday cards, which I have here by the
yeah.
way. Um, I did that all by hand.
Oh, dude!
What? The cards.
I said, dude, I never saw them colored in like that. That's my first seeing it.
Put them back. Hang on. But there are a couple of them on the way to you. Let's see if I can.
You're the best, dude. I gotta send you some fish now.
Fuck you.
By the time they get there, they'll be good and dead.
Oh yeah, they'll be completely decomposed by the time I open that box because I will not be opening that box. But yeah, so it depends a bit. Sometimes I do the whole thing by hand. But you know what? This might actually be an interesting, or yeah, it might be interesting. If it's not, interrupt me. It's fine. But I started using computer-generated gradient maps for the Singularian for a couple of reasons. One, because I need to punch out a full book of 5 drawings and 10,000 words every month. So it just saves me a lot of time. And at the
Sure.
same time, for the Singularian, it worked really well because the whole series is about, artificial intelligence. When does AI become human? Where's the difference between a well-developed AI and our human capacity to think? So I started using artificial intelligence to produce these color gradients. I've been doing that for 2 years now. And you know what? It has kind of become part of the style that I use on most of my illustrations. So I've been doing the same on the Technomancer so far. However, every now and then, I kind of just do it by hand, just for the fun of it.
Okay.
I don't know. Did I? I don't think I ever told you. It's not like a secret. It's more of like my personal secret ingredient or something.
No, that's cool because, like I said, like I use Krita as my when I'm dabbling in mixed media style. I use Krita as my tool because I don't pay for Photoshop because I'm a chump.
Neither
But
do I. My boss does
I
that for
don't.
me.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay, that's cool then. Okay,
I'm spoiled for
because
that. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
but I don't know if that's even an option in that. So I when I'm drawing or I'm coloring, I'm always doing it like by hand and blah blah blah. And I didn't even know that was even an option. So
You can
like
do
when I
it
saw you do that
online.
the other day,
There
I'm
are
like,
a lot of free online colorizing tools, and all you need is an image in grayscale, and that is why you see me doing all these illustrations in grayscale before I put color in there.
right.
Like there are.
Well,
I mean,
I've seen a lot of artists.
Go ahead.
Because I know, for example, Krita has one of the layers you can add is a Photoshop clone of like their coloration layer, like a soft light or a soft coloration Photoshop layer. So it would go back over like the gray and change it to the color that you would want it to be without destroying the actual grayscale layer.
So I could,
And I've dicked around with that before, and I enjoy that process. That's how I do a lot of the neons and things like that in those when I do those wallpaper style things we did on the website. So
yeah, I mean, I could totally be doing this right now, and everybody go, like, "What are you doing?"
right.
But I could easily make that work for me in many different ways. So I could do all this stuff by hand. I could. This would probably
Okay.
be a good one. Um, but again, this was more of a choice, for efficiency because, the full episode every month. It's just a lot of
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
Like I keep saying this. Like the Singularian, it is my biggest project, and at the same point, it is the biggest pain in the ass I've ever inflicted upon myself because I love that project and I love the story and I love the characters and I love making the artwork, but I have really set the bar way too high on that project because 10,000 words every month, having them edited, having them
Yeah.
rewritten, making the 5 illustrate, it is work, 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 work. Um, and to be fair, my platform is not big enough to carry that amount of work at this point. Like it doesn't cost me any money, but it doesn't earn me any money either. So I've been
Right.
doing that simply because I love the project. But until I'm like world famous, I will not be doing anything like that again. I will be drawing a lot. I will be writing a lot. I mean, I've got the literary agent now, so I have to write a lot, and
Yeah.
I will. But not how I did the Singularian. I will not do that again.
I understand.
Which is why
No, I
I'm
was just
so
curious.
very
Okay.
happy that the Technomancer came along because that would just I have time to work
I'm
on.
glad I caught you in your dead space.
There you go. And
Angelo, I wanted to
oh,
know, do you have an endpoint to your books in your head? Like, for example, like Shadow Master should have 10 books. I feel like you're giving me an ultimatum more than you're asking a question. Um,
ooh.
I Salem's stories, the Technomancer world will be, unless things change, 7 books. Flesh and Blood just came out. The next book will be The Devil's Right Hand. And if I can wrap everything up, the last book will be Ring of Fire. So it'll be a 7-book series. Hammer of Witches will be a 4-book series. I'm currently writing. So we have She Dreams of Fire. The second book was She Wakes in Water. The third one I'm writing right now is She Walks the Earth, and the fourth book is She Dies in the Wind. And the villains books, the Shadow Master books, they will go until the joke's not funny anymore. Because at a point I have to say enough is enough because I have other book series I want to write, and I have to start landing some of these planes sooner or later. I would love to keep it going forever, but I hate when when a show goes on for too long and the characters stop being characters and they're become caricatures of themselves. And I don't want the stories to go that far. So truthfully, I think Shadow Master might also be a 7-book series because I'm writing Villain's Return. I think the next book will be Villain's Academy, and then I might write Villain's End. We'll see how it goes because like I said, I want Jackson to actually have an arc. Between all the jokes, there is actually, and all the stupidness of it, there is actually a story I'm telling about Jackson and him, like his maturity level, like going from being a self-centered prick to being a better version of being a self-centered prick. He's still a villain, but he's still
Better.
has
Sorry,
growth.
I love how you said that.
Well, no, it's if you ever get around to that series, it's a villain advisor. He is a villain. He's the protagonist, but he is a villain, and he's a self-centered jerk of a man who thinks he's better than everybody, and he'll tell you how much he's better than everybody else. The thing is, he's only as smart as the average nerd. He just thinks he's better than everybody else. But as the books go on, he eventually gets a girlfriend and he becomes a wife, and his minions become his misfit family, and it's and then what do? You take those things away from them. Her spirit is in the trees. No, Frank, no. Actually, the latest book has Aggie ends up in the Technomancer world, and so even though that's what happens to the character, there's still enough tragedy I can tell about this tragic hero that warrants its own series, hence the writing. And it, like I said, I had to be real careful threading the story narratively between those two. And I eventually
Go
Oh,
ahead. Keep talking.
sorry, Angelo. It's. He's like, no, I get it, but thought of an ending is sad. I know it's sad for me too. But I here's the thing. I've never finished a book. I finished a book, but I've never finished a book series, and nothing makes me angrier when a series cannot land. I'll read all these books and like say what you will, but like when I read the last like Robert Jordan book, I'm like, it's an ending. It's an ending. Or the last like the Furies of Calderon book by Jim Butcher. Like, well, it's an ending. I enjoy the series, but I feel like you stumbled there a little bit. So I want to see if I can land one. If I got to put my money where my mouth is. If I can talk shit, then I better be able to like back it up. So that's why I'm challenging myself. But they gotta end.
At some point.
Well,
Yeah.
because I have a one young adult series I want to write, and
Yeah, you talked about that last time.
uh, yeah, and I I've got some other goofy ones I want to write, and I want to tell these stories, so they've got to get done. So I can't have everybody open. The current one, The Cape is a Lie, is a new series, and that'll probably be at least 3 books, maybe 4.
Mm.
It depends on how many puns I can come up with titles. So
Making up puns is actually, I mean, we've been doing that for Technomancer as well now with the
yeah,
monthly things, and you punched him out so much more easily than I. Like the whole Meet Salem was of course based on what
yeah,
Lazel says in chapter, like the first chapter, and then there was the futures looking
yeah.
dim. That is how far I got. But then I asked you like, can you do one for Mass? And you were like, oh, he's one hell of a guy, and I was like, dude, you just it comes out of your sleeve like nothing. It's out of
Well, I I'll say this. I the guy in the chat, Tiersen, Frank, him and his other guys, he's quick. He is quick with the puns, and he's been like my pun mentor for a decade plus, almost 2 decades at this point. So like he's one of the guys I play online D&D with.
Mhm.
So it's when we're playing something, I'll see something pop into the chat. I'm like, oh, Frank, where did that come from? Like he's quick. He's quick with the puns. So that's the guy I try to emulate.
I admire that kind of skill because I suck at puns. I just can't do it.
Oh, my wife also like it. The mask is a myth, the callous criticism. Oh, Jesus. They're not all good, Frank.
Okay.
Ooh, glowing bracer. Like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some of that in. I'm not liking it too much though. I I also appreciate how you know how many books are going to be in your series at the beginning. I don't think I've ever done that. I've never.
It, well, I was going to ask you because I know you finished up like the 2-year run of Singularian,
Mhm.
and you have the other series that you're working with your agent with. Like, do you have like an end goal in mind and a rough outline of books? Because I have to give myself at least because when you start a series, the world's your oyster.
But who
But as you
says that it's
write, you're
going to be a
like,
series? I mean, if something does not work, if something doesn't pick up, then who am I going to punish by turning it into a series? You know. Also, like with the book that is now agented, if if it doesn't pick up, I mean, I can write a second book, but nobody's going to want it, right? So, and the same thing happened with the Singularian. Like I can go on forever. I can milk this out to infinity, but is that something I want? And more important, is that something my readers want? I know for a fact that I do not want that. Like I want to have the freedom to start new projects as well. Um, I can come up with the idea of doing something and say it's going to be 3 or 4 seasons. Initially with the Singularian, I said if I have enough patrons, there will be a third season. But then you make it
okay,
depending on other people, and then you get patrons and you lose a couple, and then you gain a few. And at some point, I was like, you know what? This should not be depending on how many people read it. It should be depending on how much I want to write that series. Um, and like I said before, I love this whole project, but at this point, it got too big, so I have to stop it because otherwise, I'm just gonna produce crap, and I don't want that either.
right.
So for many reasons, I start a project and I don't really know, or I don't even think about how many books I want that to be, or I don't think about how long I want to stretch the project. I've done that once now, and I probably won't do that again. Um,
See, I guess when I look at it, like I know when I start a project, like I said, the world's your oyster. It can be anything,
mhm.
but once you get into it, you kind of like you have a narrative, you know. And I don't always like they don't have to just save the world. Sometimes you do, but there's only so many times the world can be saved before you stop caring. But if you're telling a person's arc,
Mhm.
then you know where that person's stories end, and sometimes it's happily ever after. Sometimes it's in the grave. Sometimes it's, you know, or they become a sad old man or a sad old woman, you
But
know.
that is assuming
Uh,
you are a plotter. Like if you are an all out
I'm
pantser
a
and you don't know where the story is going to end. It might just end the next
well. See,
chapter, and you're like shit.
I'm 80% pantser, 20% plotter.
Mm-hmm.
My plotting is the most generic middle school. Here's how you write an outline version of plot outlines. I have. Did you ever play the video game Uncharted?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you know it felt like there were three major action sequences, and the narrative kind of got. How do I get from action sequence one, two, and three? It's kind of like that. I have three or four major moments in any given book, and then how I get there, it has to feel organic. And sometimes the characters surprise me and do something I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
expecting. Like, well, never mind. We just made a hard left turn. Sometimes I'll write the end of a chapter and put a little stinger on it, and then he died. Like, oh shit, how do I fix it now? You know,
Mm-hmm.
just to like challenge myself for the next chapter. You know, it's I never went through any formal learning to write process. It's all been trial and error. And oh wow, there's many.
Sorry, yeah, I was just I was just browsing.
So it's been trial and error and a buttload of absorbed media to see what feels right for my story and what feels right for my style.
Mm.
And I've learned a lot of things along the way, things I wish I had learned earlier. Obviously, that's everybody does when you're in a career.
Mm.
Uh, but like I said, it's mostly pantsing with 20% plotting, and that but I need that enough. I'm better at improv. That's the thing. I can make shit up as I go. You know, I can talk crap with people and just go have fun. But in stories you can't just do all improv, so it's a humble blending of the two, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense. I kind of sort of read the chat a second ago, and I do want to say thank you very much, guys, because I saw a couple of people saying it's really enjoyable watching the artwork. Um, so thank you. I appreciate that
Oh,
very
they've been
much.
saying that for a while. It's been here
I
and there, like they're really into the art, like because it's like I said, I'm not joking. It's like visual ASMR. Watching it happen. Like I do like hearing your scratchy pen. I don't like the mic's not
yeah,
picking up the scratchy pen today.
I've been commented on the sound of the pen quite often in the stream, but people call it the ASMR channel by now because the sound of the pen is just a very satisfying sound. I guess. Yes. So yeah. Oh, Jesus, that was not the color that I wanted to do. What color would you make the hammer? What color would it be?
Oh, for that hammer, I would. I mean, if it's glowing, it would probably have to. Let me see, like a brown bordering into yellow in that little area there, because it's going to like it's earth. It's gonna have earth tones, and it's gonna be giving off just enough light that it's gonna be like special. So, I mean, just that starts that transition from the browns into the yellows.
All right. Okay. Uh,
But again, I'm colorblind, so you go.
you, I'll try to make something work here. Because I also
Like right
found
around that area. That's a good little zone there, I think.
yeah.
Chat, do we agree?
There. Jesus.
Thanks, chat. There we go. We got one yes.
Yes. That's all I need. And I will. Let's see. Kind of also want to take out the color of the inside of this thing, just so that like the ornaments have color, and the hammer
Got
itself
it.
is actual steel.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the second yes incoming. Look at that. You know what? I also thank you, Gib, for managing the chat while I'm working. I'm
Oh, not a
better
problem.
at maintaining the stream and managing like conversations, but there's a lot of conversation going on, so
I
this
only
is
had two jobs. It was to be the
to
channel
show up.
manager and to be the and fill dead air with my bullshit, and I'm doing my best.
You
So
got it. Consider it done. All right. Let me see if there's any. Nope.
ooh, fancy.
It's gotta get more fancy.
And as Frank will know, like, well, yeah, I my villain series is based off a character I used to play in the game Frank ran a long time ago. I had this character named Jack Shadow, and he was this mischievous, malicious. I wouldn't call he was evil, but I wouldn't call him like a bad guy. So that's where that character came from, and I wanted to continue that storyline somewhere, and that's where the Shadow Master came from. So
Sweet. Oh, I forgot which one it was. Heck. Need to do
go
that.
back
Go back. Flip right. There we go. But this
one
was
forward.
too much. This was too much. This was too much.
That's too much. Yeah, I'll agree. There was one that was like somewhere in
This
between
one.
the two. It was
There.
like,
This one.
yeah.
This was the one.
It's got enough of a glow to it.
Oh god, no. Do I agree with the color? I do like that. Just do enough digital editing to appreciate what Sandy is doing, but nowhere near the drawing skill. Thanks. You know what? Drawing skills is really. I say it all the time to everyone. I've been saying this for 10 years, for as long as I've been an art teacher. But learning how to draw, it really is 90% practice. Like, you start somewhere um, and you just gotta let it go because you will get somewhere and you will develop a style. And it doesn't have to be photorealistic, but you eventually will find your style which will work for you. Um, Whether or not people like that style, that should be none of your concern. Really. You just do you, in a way. What do we think? Does it need anything more? Do we want to wrap it up? Does it need anything still?
Well, the stream, we've passed the 2 hour mark on the stream that we promised, but I would say one of your famous ink splashes in the background behind Salem for the negative white space.
I do, and that means I need to generate a new color gradient as well. Shit. Okay. Can do.
You're right, Angelo. She is. Angelo says it looks beautiful, and you are truly an amazing artist.
Thanks so much, guys.
And like I said, once I saw the art, that it wasn't. I mean, the interior art also, and also like the cover work and everything Sandy had done under Singularity and stuff. So when she said she wanted to do some of the Technomancer stuff, and obviously she just gave me some of the fan art, I was like, dude, I'm on board, because like she's like the mistress of shadow. Like Kincaid might be the master of light, but she can do darkness like it's nobody's business, and in such a way that it evokes,
I remember
and
that
that's the reason. Yeah, and it
Go ahead.
God damn, that looks awesome. Like
I remember trying to explain how one can work with like starting at a point of light and then by adding dark, and that I work the exact opposite way. Like I start with the dark and then I start adding in light. Shit, now I need to pay attention to what I'm doing because I need to export.
yeah, you cannot talk and work. It's very obvious.
I start talking shit when I'm sorry. Did I make sense? I don't think I did.
Oh, Frank says, can I offer one criticism / comment from the peanut gallery?
Yes. I'm afraid. I'm scared. No,
We
please
are artistic people, Frank. Be kind to our egos.
don't. If you step on them lightly, please. Would it be too much of a stretch of fantasy to eventually get a comic book version
That's
of
a different
this?
question. Would it be too? Okay, hang on.
You know what? Comics are not my thing. I I don't think I'm mentally and physically capable of creating comics. Um, no, I
Like
can't.
it's, I would never say no to that. If there's a comic artist that wanted to adapt it into that, I'd say sure, go for it. I'd love to see that medium as well. But that's me because I'm a kid and I want to see like everything in like I want to see all drawings, not just mine.
Hmm.
So, oh, Frank's question, Frank's thing, personal opinion. So, so not saying your way is wrong. My thought would be a digital blue glow on the bracers the way they are, but I think a more golden lightning color on the hammer.
Yeah, that's a
One
good
being
point.
nano cyber, the other being the power of the god. So it's a different coloration of. So it show the idea. So like one was like man made and one is divine. I guess was what he's going for, and that's I think that's a fair note.
I agree. And I think I just did
I think you might have just done did it.
it. Consider it done. Um, what's that? Because the others. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm just reading the chat back.
Yep.
That's cool. I do. I'm gonna tone down the contrast on his face a bit more because he's a bit too too much. Um,
Dead air. Oh, I'm supposed to fill that. So everybody,
sorry,
how's everybody doing?
I zoned out. Completely zoned
So
out.
here's the thing. I'm sitting there watching you do work too. I'm literally just watching at this point.
That's okay. It's okay. I'm doing some color tweaking, but I am about to call it because you know you got to stop when it's done and
Yeah.
yeah, just tweaks and then that's it. All right, so score between 1 and 10. Hit me with it.
Dude, you did it as always, man. Like, you okay? You want the affirmation? I'll give you a 10.
Thank you.
11.9. There we go. From King Bradley, 11.9.
That's what I'm here for. Thanks. Yeah.
You're very welcome. Because I mean, just watching it go from the pencils to this was just
It's
like
a journey, yeah. I
I'll
mean,
speak for the yeah.
just
Damn.
taking it all out. There we go. This is what we started with 2 hours ago. So I hammered this one out in 40 minutes, about 40 minutes, and then two
Yep.
hours on the shading um, and stuff. And this is what we get. And to be fair, like when I started this, and also again this comes back to when I started with Singularian, I used to take anywhere between 10 to 20 to 30 hours for full scenes, and I do think that in 2 years' time, I have managed to sort of, I've just found an efficiency in there.
You
Like I can
refine the
produce these
process.
things in a matter of hours rather than a matter of days. Hammered
Damn it,
out. Ah,
Frank.
yeah.
I told you. I told you.
Sweet. Yeah.
You can title this one "Salem Wants to Get Hammered." So
Hammer time.
yeah.
Yeah, all right. All right. I'm going to call this then. This is it. This
Yes.
is the
Yes,
one.
ma'am.
Anything you. Oh, no, wait. I've got questions for you. I've got one
Oh
more
shit.
question
Okay.
for you. This is the one question I'm going to share with you. Not this one. This one. What came first, the chicken or the egg, and which would Mazael eat first?
Yes. Okay. I think if it was the chicken, Masahel would just eat it. If it was the egg, he would hatch it, then eat the chicken, eat
Oh
the
god, you would
chick.
hatch it.
So he would hatch it, then eat the chick because they're tastier.
That's so gross. But then again, if you would sit on it, it would break. Because I can see Mass just go and sit down on it and go,
Oh no, he put it like an old incubator and make sure he's all like, "Hey
it's gonna
buddy, how you
take
doing?"
care of
Like,
it.
one fluffy nugget is what it would be.
Oh yeah, and I like the little feather sticking from his mouth. Yeah, I could
Yeah,
feel the next illustration for the next stream coming.
love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, and on
you want
that
to call it then?
bombshell. Sorry, say it again.
No, so if you want to call it then, I want to
Yeah.
say thanks to everybody that tuned in and participated in the stream chat. We really do appreciate it, and we can't wait to show you more when the time draws closer for when the book comes out.
Yes, and for those who have not done that yet, let me see if I can finally use my commands in the chat. There we go. It actually works. We've got a
Yep.
newsletter. It is called Titpun. That's Gibbs thingy is his humor. Titpun. Yeah. I'm not even going to explain that. You should just sign up and read it. sandybutchers.com/technomancer.htm. The .htm is very unprofessional, but it is what it is. So just fill it in there, and you'll go to the page. We do a monthly newsletter. We have done 3 so far. You can read all of them back. And the one in January is going to be a very, very special one. But I'm not going to say because Gib already talked to Shay and Sai, and he warned them. So I must now prove that I'm not the Gelderlandian blabbermouth that he called me out as. All right. Please sign up. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for your follow on the channel. I will be doing a lot more art streams, and you're always very welcome to tune in and just watch me draw along, even though there is like 6 hours of time difference between me and most of you. That said, Gib, anything?
Watch it back on VOD and follow her on Twitter. Follow us both on Twitter. But if you want to know when her streams go live, she always announces usually on Twitter right before she goes live.
I do. All right. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you still have a good day or evening, no matter what time it is on your part of the world. Gib, thank you too, man.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.